Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into the world of beauty schools. We're going to pull back the curtain on the real costs and give you a kind of financial survival guide, all based on some really eye-opening research.
So let's just get right into it. For so many people, cosmetology is the dream, right? It's a path to being creative, maybe even owning your own business. But the big question is the school you choose actually setting you up for success, or is it setting you up for a massive trap of debt?
Okay, let's start with a hard number. Check this out. After graduation, a whole lot of beauty school students are looking at an average total debt of around $14,000. And that's usually a mix of different federal and private loans.
Now, hold that debt number in your head and compare it to this. The typical starting salary for a graduate for their first couple of years out in the real world. It's sitting at about $22,000. You can probably already see where this is going.
And that gap, that mismatch between what you owe and what you're actually earning, that's what experts call a debt trap. It's a situation that makes it almost impossible to get your feet under you financially, let alone build any real wealth. And that is the core problem we're going to unpack today. So how in the world is this debt trap even set? Well, it's not always obvious. It's kind of sneaky, because it's often built right into the way these schools handle their finances. It all starts with this official-sounding term called the cost of attendance, or COA. Now, this isn't just the price tag for tuition. The school actually comes up with this number by lumping in tuition and fees with their estimates for your living expenses. Rent, food, getting around.
And here's where things get tricky. That cost of attendance number can be played with. A lot of schools use what's known as a buffer calculation. They basically inflate those estimated living costs way up. Why? Because a higher COA means their financial aid office can then offer you a much bigger federal loan.
This whole process often ends with you getting something called a refund check. It's the loan money left over after tuition is paid. And it feels amazing, right? Like free cash. But it's not. As one source put it, it's the most expensive money you will ever spend. You're literally borrowing money to buy groceries and pay rent, but you're doing it at an interest rate of 4, 8, or even higher.
And if that wasn't enough, you also have to watch out for this little shell game. Schools will advertise one price for tuition, but then they hide thousands of dollars in mandatory fees, things for your toolkit or for technology, that aren't included. So that sticker price you saw, totally misleading.
Okay, so we've seen how the costs can get completely bloated. But here's the good news. There's another way. There's a totally different model out there that just says no to this entire system. It's called the straight discount model, and it's super simple. Instead of figuring out the absolute max you can borrow, schools that use this model set a clear, honest price based on what it actually costs to run the program. That's it. The price is the price.
And just look at the difference it makes. This is a breakdown for the exact same 1,500-hour state license. With the old buffer model, you're paying about $16 an hour for your training. But with the straight discount model, it's just over $4 an hour.
Let that sink in. For the same exact license, to take the same exact state board exam, you could end up paying almost 400% more per hour. And that extra cash, it's not making you a better stylist. It's just padding the school's bottom line.
So the whole point here is that this other way, this alternative model, is literally designed to protect you. You can often just pay as you go. You're not racking up interest while you're still trying to learn. And you graduate with financial freedom, not some giant loan payment hanging over your head for years.
Okay, so you get the problem, you get the alternative, but how do you actually protect yourself when you're out there looking at schools? Well, it all comes down to knowing what to look for in the fine print. The stuff they hope you won't read. First up, you have to be on the lookout for this really nasty clause called the overtime trap charge. See, most programs have a contract with an end date. If you get sick or have a family emergency and you go past that date, the school can actually start charging you an hourly penalty for every single extra hour you need to finish.
And we're not talking about small change. Look at this. If you miss just 3 weeks of school, that could easily be 100 hours. At $15 an hour, that's a surprise bill for $1,500. And guess what? Federal aid won't cover it. You have to pay it out of pocket before they'll even let you take your final exam.
All right, with all of that in mind, let's give you a toolkit. Think of this as your personal checklist for being a smart consumer when you're checking out any beauty school.
Here are the 5 critical, non-negotiable questions you have to ask. Demand the total all-in cost. Find that overtime rate in the contract. If they start pushing loans for living expenses, that's a giant red flag. And always, Always ask to see the full student catalog and their state board pass rate before you sign a single thing.
So when you boil it all down, you're looking at two completely different ways of thinking. One model is built to get the absolute most federal loan money out of a student. The other is built to be as affordable and transparent as possible. As the research puts it, one is like a luxury tax on people who don't know any better, and the other is just the rational choice for someone who's informed.
Which leads us to the final question, the one you really have to ask yourself. When you look at that big tuition bill, what are you actually paying for? Are you paying for an education that's going to launch an amazing career? Or are you just paying for the privilege of taking out a really, really expensive loan?